Tomi Laren's rant about men being trash has become almost old news now. The internet has had a field day making fun of her little tantrum, and a lot of content creators in the manosphere have pulled apart the things that she says and have all pretty much reverberated some of the same notions about what she said. As a man approaching 50 years old and having quite a bit of experience in this game of dealing with women, I've noticed a trend over the past couple of years, especially, of a total and complete lack of accountability. And in her own words, the way that she approached this, realistically, if you think about it from a adult perspective, Tomi Laren's rant wasn't really a PSA for men. It was actually a PSA for women. And those of us that are well indoctrinated in the red pill philosophy understand exactly what's happening with Miss Laren. But I don't know that it's not quite as simple as her approaching the wall and all of that. Although that's true, there are much deeper intricacies in what she was saying. And I don't even know that she understands what she's going through. And all of her friends and all of their glory and grandeur, I don't think that they understand the reality of the world that they live in, especially since they all have basically the same experience. Now, one of the things that was abundantly clear in listening to what she was saying was that, in men being garbage, one of the things that was perfectly clear to me as a man was that this girl hasn't been told much truth in her life. And one of the main reasons why I say that is her arrogance and her confidence in herself. You would think that she would rate up close to a 10 on a scale, but realistically she's really like a 5. She's a hard 5. Put on a bunch of makeup and fake stuff, then maybe she's a very soft 6, but she's just a typical cookie cutter blonde girl. There's nothing special about this girl other than her celebrity. That's what gives her a platform to be a little bit probably more arrogant than other girls that look like her. But you can find that girl a dime a dozen in Texas just going to Walmart. She's not anything special, but in her little idealized world, her and her friends are these queens to bestow their greatness upon men that need to qualify for them. And that is just simply laughable, but it's understandable. Because this feminist narrative that has beaten down men, that have made men weak and soft and scared to speak up and even engage, this thing has been going on for decades. I remember the birth of the generations that spawned her. That's the over-sexualization of our society, and especially in women and young girls, is absolutely disgusting. And the crazy part about it is instead of being held accountable, all accountability has been removed. Starting with the birth control pill and fast forward all the way to the current situation where a woman who sleeps with multiple men can no longer be considered what she is. They just add shaming. So you got the fat shaming, hoe shaming, whatever. Instead of accepting responsibility for the things that happen in their lives, they simply add shaming to it and victimize themselves. And that's acceptable. It's not only acceptable, it's celebrated and propagated and forced upon men. And so we're supposed to submit and do all of these goofy things, but at the same time be strong. You can see how this has infected her in her bully tactics, thinking that she's gonna bully men into getting their act straight. And the things that she listed on her demands that men do to prove that they're worthy or whatever it was that her point was, Some of those points were good points, like making a date and, calling and communicating and actually seeing someone. But that's what men do when they're truly interested in a woman. Again, the problem with Miss Laren and her friends is they've grown up in a society that has encouraged them to be free with their sexuality. So, in her own words, she's gone from coast to coast and experienced men from 20 to 60, meaning she's got multiple bodies on her jacket. So just the inability to pair bond is evident in her arrogance. But the thing about Miss Laren is this: she doesn't seem to realize that what's happening to her right now is the same thing that she's most likely done to the men that were qualified men for what she wants. But the other problem is those men don't look like the men that she canceled dates on to go be with. And after a woman does this enough times, she begins to think that all men are worthless, and all of the goofy shit that she said. And if it was just as simple as men being dogs, it would be true. But she's presenting herself to be something, and she believes herself to be something because these guys are willing to rail her out. Her expectation is that a man's willingness to sleep with her means that he's interested in her, and that is an absolute fallacy. So she's got a high body count. Men have been ghosting her. Men have been leaving her hanging. Men have been texting her, doing all these things. Men have been lying to her about being... All of these things that she's done, that she's experiencing right now, she's done to someone in the past, no doubt. 100% no doubt. And now the tide is turning, because now younger girls that are actually feminine and more womanly, they're getting the attention from the men that she wants attention from. She doesn't understand that her whole representation, her whole presentation, her whole being is like a dude. She believes that her assets, her value, she values things that men have. She values things that make men valuable to women. She's not smart enough to realize that men of value do not care about her stuff. They do not care about her celebrity. They do not care about anything other than the way she looks and her ability to be a woman, her ability to be feminine. And, when we go down the list of her rant, the number one thing about being single, that was perhaps the most laughable thing that she said. Because men that are aware of women's nature and the way things go in 2020, we all know that women aren't single. Just because you say you're single doesn't mean anything. But the cognitive dissonance that women have, the ability to call their ex-fuck buddies just friends, and their beta orbiters, and their ex-boyfriends, and their old flings, and all the people that give them attention, those people are still in her life. Those people are still carried around like old luggage and party favors from her favorite times, and they're always on speed dial. And men have come to know that. So many men that have come to the red pill community have dealt with that. So many men thought that the woman that they were with was their woman, only to find out that she had a line of men taking care of different things in her life. So the men that this woman deals with are only using her for what she's worth. Tomi Laren is only worth banging out and bouncing. What man would want to listen to her talk? What man would want to listen to the arrogance and her voice alone is arrogant and scratchy and just annoying as hell. Who would want to deal with that? Who would want to deal with that? And obviously, her sexual gifts aren't enough for a guy to even come back. Or when they do, they come back when they're desperate. But now she's not going to take it anymore. Tomi Laren's message wasn't really for men at all. It was for women. It was for women. What she was saying was this: if you spend your early years swinging from cock to cock, going from coast to coast, banging out dudes from 20 to 60, discarding good men to go be used up by the guys that you wish wanted you, if you follow that trajectory in your life, you'll end up like Tomi Laren. If you decide to put your education and your ability to compete with men above being a woman and learning what men really want, learning how to listen, how to communicate really without trying to be a bully, without trying to be a man. If you try to approach men and impress them with things that women are impressed by, you're going to find yourself like Tomi Laren. If you walk through your life believing that you're a 10 because 9s and 10s will come over and break your back out, but they don't call you back, that doesn't elevate you to a 10, Miss 5. You're still a 5. You're going to end up like Tomi Laren. If you don't realize that your standards, that she likes to call it, is really you just being an annoying bitch, and no man wants to be with an annoying bitch, you're going to end up like Tomi Laren. This PSA wasn't for men. Real men exist. They just don't deal with women like Tomi Laren. All the women who are asking, where have all the good men gone? Most likely they've spent their time trying to acquire things to compete with men just like Tomi. Riding the cock carousel, swinging from D to D, letting the hypergamous nature go unhinged, and now running into the wall. That's the women who ask this question, just like Tomi. The problem here is, Tomi, you don't understand your real place in life. And because men and boys have lied to you and made you feel like you were interesting, that you were super smart, that your success mattered, you're figuring out now that they all lied to you. They all lied to you because they were simply trying to get to the main point, the main thing that matters. You were pretty enough to attract their attention, and then they got what they wanted from you, and that was it. You weren't interesting enough to keep their attention. That's why within 4 or 5 days they disappear, because you're not that interesting. And the women that you consider thots, that used to be you. You're just mad that it's not anymore. And now because you've reached a certain level of success and you and your friends are high-fiving one another, you feel like it's your right to call women who aren't where you're at nothing. And you're jealous of their beauty because yours is fading and you're having to go get your face cut on to try to keep up. But Father Time and Mother Nature will have their way with you. And your arrogance will catch up with you. And before you know it, you'll be like Britney Spears laying up with a Kevin Federline, because that's the only person that's going to be willing to put up with your shit. Tomi Laren's message was for women. It wasn't for men. Ladies, you should listen up. Out.